Welcome back to the Colecast. What is up, guys? My name is Francis, and today's date in your ear is June 25th. For us, it is the 18th, 17th, 17th, 18th. It is the 18th today. So I am coming to you from the past, and I am here to warn you about the overtaking of AI. It has, if you're hearing this message, it's gone too far. Just kidding. Welcome back to the Colecast, guys. My name's Francis. I am your part-time host, full-time general manager at Coal Iron Works. I am joined today with my lovely assistant, Greg Kountz. He is a full-time dad and part-time assembly guy for us. Just kidding. He's also a full-time assembly guy. I don't have part-time positions available. Today, we're going to go over some things, talk about some stuff and junk. And we'll get some reflections on Greg's experience at the IBA. We're going to keep hounding on that because people need to join their local communities, and we're going to talk about the benefits of that every single chance we get. And Greg has not been on to talk about his experience at the IBA, so deal with it. The first thing I want to talk about, though, is the Coal School Minis. Guys, we are having an absolutely fantastic response to these, so much so that we are going to start doing targeted minis to things going on in our local community. So we have things like the Gaslight Festival. We have the James Dean Festival over in Fairmount. We have Small Town USA Festival in Alexandria. We have the Belgian Horse Winery. We have the Indianapolis Pacers in the finals, which I might look like an idiot next week because we might lose.
So we're
down 3-2.
Yes, and tomorrow is back at Cambridge. But
the Pacers have done nothing but come back. Just not in series.
Not in series, but in games.
In games.
Yes.
So we've got some fight in us, but we have a ton of stuff going on. Indiana's not as boring as the internet would have you believe. So what we're going to do is we're going to start doing calculated and intentional classes for our community. And what is coming up that is a huge ordeal in Indianapolis is called Gen Con, and it is a Comic-Con-esque gathering. It is more diverted towards role-playing games, D&D, stuff like that, than it is like actual comic books and anime and stuff like that. Those things exist at Gen Con, but this is a big tabletop game gathering. So last week, we had Chris come on the podcast and do a DM for us of a one-shot. Look how intelligent I am when it comes. I am a role-playing master. And we did a one-shot with Chris. I have props. I have more props. And so that was all to advertise that we will be doing D20s and magic wands for Gen Con. So it takes about half an hour, costs $40. This is great for a group of 4 or a group of 3 to come out while you're at Gen Con, or a couple days before or a couple days after, or if you just live in the area and you would like your own D20, I'm going to roll them. Can we zoom in? We can't zoom in. Oh, I'm going to roll them towards Greg. Switch to Greg. I missed. Okay, so we'll hold these up here. These are beautifully forged D20s. And you'll get to make these for only $40, which honestly, I have been exposed to the realm of nerdery, and $40 is nothing for a good set of dice.
Really?
Yeah, they get expensive. And then we also have these D6s that our young Corbin made me at Abana.
Those are Charlie's.
Yeah, those are.
Charlie made these?
You can tell because they're nice.
Because they're good. Honestly, Corbin doesn't have this weird lump right here. But I'm sure if you're sweet enough, you can talk Charlie into doing a set of these instead. So you can do
an add-on.
Ooh,
for
it's an add-on.
D20 class.
It's an add-on. You can add on for 20 minutes. You can add on. So if you're listening to this and you are an avid blacksmith, or you want to get into blacksmithing, and you have friends that are into this realm of enjoyment, Sign them up. Bring them out here.
You don't have to even be able to swing a hammer.
Don't even have to swing a hammer. We've got dies to make the dice. Dies to make the dice. That sounds like a song.
Dies to make the die because you make one at a time.
Dies to make the dice. Dies. Well, the die makes multiple dies. Dies to make the dice.
That's true.
Dies to make the dice. It's like bands will make your dance. Shout out Juicy J. Sponsor us, Juicy J. So that is coming up. Please sign up for that class. Charlie went through an immense amount of time to make some dies for that. He took time out of his day to play D&D to get some background into the world of D&D. So that would really benefit Charlie because he put a lot of time and effort into this. So check that out. That is, maybe we keep it up. Maybe we just have that as an offering. But right now it's a special for Gen Con, and that's all I know about that. Evan, is there anything else I'm not saying that I should have known?
No. If you've not watched last week's episode, the Dungeons and Dragons Coldcast, go check that out. Let us know if you want to see more of that style of episode. We might be able to convince Francis and Nathan to do that more.
Yeah, it'll be a hard sell. Number 2, which is what I am most stoked about. Making It Stick is now out. This is a comprehensive introduction to pattern welded steel. So this will take you on a 3-hour adventure that you will not regret. Charlie taught a class on forge welding, and we recorded it, and Evan edited it.
Yep, there it is.
Evan edited it, and we've got that out and available. Guys, we are very, very excited about the classes here in person. We love to get to meet you. We love to get to know you. We love having people out here. When you have cool toys, nothing makes you happier than sharing them with friends, making new friends because of them. I'm covering my mouth to the mic. But if you cannot come and attend in person, it is a very reasonable option for you to buy the class online, sign up. You have lifetime access to that class. It is not a subscription. You're not paying $100 to watch it one time. You're paying $100 to have lifetime access to this class. And we're not charging you monthly upkeep or anything like that. You know, that's my old man rant for the day. Subscriptions. Why is everything a subscription now?
And they expect you to forget about your subscription.
Right. Oh, I stopped using Spotify, but it just keeps billing me, right? Like, well, and then here's the other part. Why are people not paying attention to their bank accounts? The money's coming out. Why do you not know it?
True.
And I'm at fault here because I recently moved and I was setting up homeowners insurance, and I said, "Hey, I'm moving. I need to cancel my homeowners insurance in Middletown. Or my renter's insurance in Middletown. I need to set up homeowners insurance." And they said, "Okay, are you still renting the property in Chicago?" And I said, "No, not for about 2.5 years." And they said, "Oh, okay, do you have any proof of that?" And I said, "Yes, because I've been living in Middletown for 2 years, paying you renter's insurance at a house in Middletown for 2 years." And they said, "Okay, well, we're going to refund you for the renter's insurance in Chicago because you've still been paying it."
Lovely.
Which, kind of a bummer. But also, I just got a $300 check, which tells you how cheap renter's insurance is. I was paying for 2.5 years and got $300 back. But yeah, they were like, "Oh yeah, it's just, been coming out." Well, okay. I suppose I just thought my renter's insurance was $20 a month instead of $10. I'd pay $20 a month for renter's insurance.
I never paid for renter's insurance.
I didn't.
I should have.
I never did until my last 2 landlords made me show proof of renter's insurance before I even signed the lease. Like, I had to call and set up renter's insurance, and then I could sign the lease.
Yeah.
Very, very weird.
I wish I had renter's insurance when I lost my garage.
Where'd it go?
It turned into ash.
Did you ever find it?
Yes, and piles of rubble.
All right. So that's what we got going on, guys. The D20 and Magic Wands class. Please sign up for that. Please come take it. Enjoy your time with Charlie. Heck, take that class and ask him questions. He's not going to go in depth and do like a full-on class that he would normally do with you. It's not like you can skirt the system that way. But ask him questions about what it's like being from Florida.
He'll be mad if you ask him about being from Florida.
Ask him very loudly what it's like to be from Florida, and then check out Making It Stick. Those are two things that we've got going on. So that's our updates as far as Cole goes. I feel like I've been rambling for a long time. Greg Kountz, you attended the IBA annual conference. Do I still have the? I don't have it up here. Nate Weiss and Jennifer Petrilla came out and demoed. I mostly watched Jennifer. She is a very, very, very talented blacksmith. I cannot speak highly enough of her as a person or as a blacksmith. But you said that you mainly watched Nate, right?
I didn't really watch any of the demos. I was sitting with you at the booth, and then I was over with the tools to make tools area.
Oh, okay. Cool. So what was your experience like? How did you find the conference to be?
Wonderful. That was the first year I've gone. And
Greg's a fake fan. He joins when it's cool.
Last year I had other stuff. I was taking a class that weekend.
Yeah.
But it was a great time. You get to see people like Steve King. We only get to see him a few times a year,
Yeah.
and hanging out with Kurt is always a blast.
Yeah.
And just seeing all the people that we don't see a ton.
Yeah. So we talk a lot about Rob and Paul and Kurt because that's who we see
All the time.
all the time.
Yeah.
But then you have your Steves and your Daniels and your Omars and the guys that are from Zach Royer.
I was talking to Rapatoni.
Oh, Zach Rapatoni, yeah, as well. Yeah. Zach Royer. I got to spend more time with him at IBA this year than I did last year. I spent a lot of time with him at SOFA a couple years ago. But he is also just a wonderful human being. And you only see him a couple times a year because he's from so far north.
Well, and that was the first time I had met Tanner as well.
Oh, Tanner's the best.
Yeah.
I bought a 150-pound Trenton off Tanner.
Yep.
Didn't even get it out of his truck. And he told me how much he wanted. And then he said, well, but I'd go lower. And it was a completely fair price.
It was a deal.
It was a deal.
With.
He was wheeling deal to begin with. So he had it on the ground before I was asking him what his Venmo was, so I could send. I didn't bring that much cash. Ended up buying a couple drifts from him and a bottle opener from his son. He's just a great dude. His kids are awesome, super sweet. They kept trying to share their candy with us.
Yeah.
Every time they'd open up a snack, they'd be like, "Hey, have you ever had lemon heads?" Like,
well, they were
or lemon head straws.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, actually, yes, this time I do want to try that.
Well, yeah, earlier they were trying to share a brownie or something with us.
And his wife, I believe his wife's name is Hattie.
Yes.
She makes baked goods.
Yep.
And had it not been for the weather and eating so much breakfast and already feeling slow and sluggish,
was it banana bread?
She makes banana bread. She makes like something citrusy, like an orange cranberry bread or something like that. And once again, always feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, especially if I'm talking about you. But I believe that one year she made like a pumpkin zucchini bread. Whoa.
I'm not much for the fruit breads, but I'd be down with some pumpkin zucchini.
Yeah, it was like two. If she had pumpkin or zucchini, that makes sense. But like the two mixed together were like, it's like this is killer. And then Kevin's wife came out and she did a glass blowing demonstration.
Yeah, that was my first time meeting her as well.
Yeah.
She's a riot.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun. And then I cannot believe. I apologize to both of you. I cannot remember either of your names. There's a gentleman who's been part of the IBA for a very long time, and his wife always does basket weaving.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot remember their names.
I do not know either.
But so this event grew from being just blacksmithing over the years to do basket weavings for the past few years, and now glass blowing.
It was a glass blowing demo.
Demo, right? Yeah, they're not teaching it. I feel like that's a little. Molten lava is somehow scarier than steel.
Well, and also the tooling to do it. Each person would have to have everything.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's fair.
She's been asked to teach before, and she's like, unless you want to buy
Unless
me
you have it set up.
thousands of dollars of tools, then sure, but otherwise, no.
So what'd you score at the tailgating area? I know you picked up some things.
Mostly I got like bottle opener blanks. What else did I pick up? Some stuff to make tooling, and then Kurt went and got a bunch of power hammer tools that
Yes.
bought a bunch of power hammer tooling.
Kurt is in the process of getting rid of tools that he doesn't use. He has accumulated a lot of tools, and every once in a while somebody will pick something up and be like, oh yeah, this is really nice, Kurt, where'd you get this? Oh, okay, and then put it back down, and then Kurt will randomly just, yeah, give me $5. And so he brought a bunch of stuff out and was cutting wheel and dealing left and right. I went over, there was a really nice flatter that I picked up. I was like, oh man, it's a little bit bigger than my flatter. My flatter was essentially just a rounding hammer that turned into a flatter, but I was like, all right, I'm going to pick this up. And he kept walking away from me. And so I told Dan, I told you, I told Larson, I told everybody. I was like, next time, like when you see Kurt, remind him to tell me how much I owe him. And every time I would see him, I'd be like, hey man, how much do you want for that flatter? And well, I was going over there to get some brisket. And it's like, this has nothing to do with it. So I finally got him cornered and was like, Kurt, how much do you want for the flatter? Oh, have you ever bought anything from me before? No, Kurt, I don't think I've ever paid you for anything. Well, first time customer discount. That's 100% off. Said, Kurt, do you want me? I'll pay for it. And then he just winked at me and walked away. So I picked up some tongs, an anvil. I ended up, if Corbin's listening to this, turn it off right now, Corbin. That toolbox that Corbin bought, it's mine now, with all the tools inside of it. He just left it and it's at my house. I told him like 3 days in a row, like, do you want me to bring this back? And he was like, oh, I don't know. I don't really need any of it. So it's mine now. It's not in good condition or anything. It's just.
He got his impact driver.
He got it. Well, he didn't. Or did? Yeah, he did. He did pull that out. He didn't get the 10 snips or the there was
spud
something
bar.
else. Was there a spud bar in there? Okay.
It's in my stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, that he gave to you. I was
there
standing
was two
right there.
spud bars.
Oh, okay.
The one he gave to me, and then I was like, hey, this is a good tool for you to have.
Okay.
And so I separated that as well.
Yeah, he paid like $10 for the whole box.
I think it was $5.
Okay. And then he put $1 each on everything, and
Yeah.
nobody bought anything. So I'm the proud new owner of that. But
And you really got a really nice toolbox at the IBA as well.
oh yeah, I did. I won. I think I told that story.
You did, but you kept calling it a raffle. You kept.
Oh, it
calling
wasn't a raffle. Yeah, it was iron in the hat. Yeah.
No, it was an auction.
What part did I win it at? Dude, it was okay.
The auction.
It was the auction. Okay.
Yes.
It was so frustrating.
You didn't buy any iron in the hat tickets.
No, because I wanted to have cash for the auction. I'm just an idiot. Yeah, so I got that. That's more of a carpenter's
Woodworkers,
box,
yeah.
but it'll work for what I want to use it for, and it's going to sit in my clean shop. I'll have my dirty shop and my clean shop. My dirty shop's going to have sheep and chickens all around and stuff like that, and it's not well insulated, so a wood box is not going to do well out there.
Next to your 150-pound Trenton.
Next to my 150-pound Trenton. I also have eyes on another anvil that I might pick up. But anywho, yeah, IBA, great. We've gone over it. I wanted to touch it again just so that everybody knows to join whatever you've got going on. I know... I think it's Llama has reached out to us. They're having their conference soon. A few other people have reached out. There's a ton of conferences coming up. We are not going to be able to go in person as much as we have in the past. We are kind of cutting our show schedules down. It's just, I don't have kids in a family. Nobody cares if I'm home at night, but that sounded really sad. And usually I say that to sound sad, but genuinely, like, I can travel. I have the ability to, but I just bought a house. most of us have children, wives, things like that. It's just hard to get out. So if you're having some sort of blacksmithing gathering, that it is a community, say Maba, Llama, Abana, things like that, especially if you're Abana affiliated. We are also Abana affiliated through IBA. So those are the kind of things that we want to support, even if we can just send out some hammer stock or a t-shirt or something like that for your iron in the hat or for your raffle. We want to make sure that we're supporting communities that are doing good things. And so I wanted to touch on that and just make sure that everybody understands how important that is to have a community. I say community on this show a lot, and that's because it's freaking important, people. It sounded like I was getting emotional for a second. Have a group of guys and gals around you that support you, that care about you, that are willing to do the work with you. Find the work, do it as a group, and then enjoy the spoils together. Okay?
But before we move on from the IBA, I have one more thing to add. I did my first blacksmithing competition at the IBA. And just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah. Like, I was like, hey, Hayden, you want to do the competition with me? He's like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, well, let's just do it. And we did really well.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys did really well. Actually, I was pretty impressed. Aaron came and grabbed me and said, hey, do you want to judge this with me? Well, you're not going to be as partial or impartial. He said, yeah, you're not going to be as impartial. Maybe you got too many connections here. So, but I went and looked at all of them, and I was really impressed at how well everybody else did. It was amazing with 30 seconds on. I couldn't do that, genuinely. And I've tried before, and that's how I can say I can't touch something and then say, oh, this is what it's shaped like. It was amazing seeing the different skill levels, and some of the people that you thought were going to do really, really well whiffed.
Yeah, the one in particular was shocking.
Yeah, but we won't linger on that. Or will we? We won't. But yeah, don't just go to these events. Get involved with what they're doing. You know, I know that we donated a bunch of steel, and a bunch of people made hammers. It doesn't matter if we donated the steel or not. I just know that there was a bunch of steel. A bunch of people made hammers. I had a ton of people walking up to me like, you know, they do ornamental stuff, or they've only been doing it for a couple years, and they do railroad spike stuff, and it's like, hey, this is my first time like working as a striker or driving the train or whatever, and I got to do that. This is what I made, and just the sense of pride of swinging a hammer that you made is super cool. And I think I talked about it when we did the recap, but Indiana has this weird thing, and I've noticed it everywhere else I go. If you have a hammer maker, somebody who's really good at making hammers, they only use their own hammers. If somebody makes knives, they carry their own knife. They kind of carry their own work with them, and then if they're a knife maker, they'll buy hammers or tongs or whatever. In Indiana, I have noticed that everybody does a little bit of everything. They have a little bit of a specialty, but somebody like Rob, who we all know Rob is like, oh, I've got a question about making a hammer, specifically the struck rounding hammer.
Rob and Paul are the two to go to.
Yeah, it's like we go to them. All of their hammers were made by somebody else.
Yeah.
Rob's only got a couple that he swings that he made. And if he does keep them, it's because, oh, well, I made that one with Paul, or I made that one with Corbin. I made that one with Ed. He has kind of a connection to it. Indiana's the only place I've ever been to a show where you have makers who are really good at what they do, but they don't use their own tools. And it's because they want to support other people.
Yeah.
And, I pointed it out to Kurt, because Kurt could literally make anything in 5 seconds, angrily. I was like, man, who made that? Oh, I don't know. So-and-so made that. Who made that? And it's like, Kurt, you don't have any of your own work. He's like, why would I? I sell it. Fair enough, Kurt. So I thought that was like a weird thing that kind of stuck out to me, and I thought that was cool.
Well, and like even Jennifer made her first hammer with a striker.
Yeah. I forgot about that. She had never made a hammer with a striker. The axes that she was showing us were beautiful.
Yes.
Impeccable. And she forges her own axes and uses her own axes specifically because she might make an axe that she only uses 3 or 4 times, but she needs it specifically for that. So, yeah, just wanted to touch on that. Guys, get involved in your freaking community. Moving on. Greg, you are our head assembly. Give me some of that D&D music, Evan. Some of that intense. This is gonna get deep. That's not what I was looking for. Gregory, as our head assembly guy, and as somebody who has worked in restoration and repair since you were 18 years old and fiddled with it since you were about 4, what is the most overlooked and critical part of the assembly processes that separate a good build from a bad one?
The little things.
Duh.
Like when I'm putting a press together, I even line up the pins on the cross pins, the
Cotter pins.
the cotter pins. I line them up, and just simple little things that are easy to overlook. And like on a big build, like a car or something, the first 90% of the work is quick.
Right.
It's that last 10% that takes years. It's the little details.
What is an example? What is an example of the little things?
Like on the 2 horsepower power packs.
Yes.
We turn the oil cap to say oil when you look at the press.
So you don't have to crane your neck.
Well, you already know what it is, but it's little things like that. Even like when I'd do an oil change on a car, when you put the oil cap back on, you want it to face the user. You don't want it to be upside down, or you still know what it is, but it's just those little things like that.
So you're saying that the difference between a good build and a great build is just based on appearance?
Not necessarily, but if you're paying attention to stuff like that, you're going to pay attention to everything throughout the process.
There it is. I thought that's where you were going to. So the difference for me, as somebody who has also worked extensively, and I'm stepping on my cord, as somebody who has worked extensively in assembly, who has helped you work on cars, who has done some of, a lot of the processes that you do every day, for me, the difference between a build that will work and a build that is what I want in front of my customers is that mindset of paying attention to the little details, right? So there's this value that you add when you take too much time, right? Anybody who has ever worked time and material job or in any sort of shop that bills on quantity or whatever knows that time is money. But there is also a ton of value lost if you rush through things and they don't work. So an example is when I first got here, I was having trouble with some of the frame alignments that we were getting welded out of house. So we were getting these welded and then brought to us, and I was rejecting, I would say probably anywhere from 25 to 50% of every frame that we were getting every week. So some weeks it would be 25, some weeks it would be 50. I do remember one week where we were very behind. We had just announced a price raise and told everybody, hey guys, at the end of the month, we have to raise our prices. So order your press now, you'll save money. And they did. And that guy was rushing building his frames. And I rejected almost every frame for like a week. And so having to go and fix your mistakes is a lot more time burden than doing it right the first time.
Oh, yeah.
So having the mindset for the little things is wonderful. I think that's a great point. That's not what I was going to make as my point, but I think that's even better than mine, is having the mindset of what little details matter. So what are, you said the oil cap, and that's all kind of appearance based. What are some of the little things that you've thought about that transfer directly to either usability or reliability or the endurance of the machine? Is there anything that you've done differently since coming in? You've made a few suggestions, and I can say a few, but I want to hear it from you. What are some of the suggestions you've made?
The products have all been flushed out pretty much. The changes I've made have been in the process of assembly more so than the machine itself. Like when I do a 12-ton, I leave certain bolts loose till the very end that used to be tightened up before, but then you could come into alignment issues and it just little things like that. I haven't really made any. Now, like, we have found a lot of things on the KA, like opening up some of the bushings so that you're going to have instant use of the machine and to help cut down on some of the break-in time.
Yeah, so when we first got the K75, we got a couple used ones, a couple new ones, you know. The new ones, we were told they're good to go. We've QC'd them. We had never heard anything being a problem, so we up and down a couple times and shipped them. With the ones we built, we ran them quite a bit, and we ran into this problem of it takes about 3 or 4 or 5 hours of good use for those bushings to really break in. And that is something that we will be putting in the handbook, the owner's manual, don't worry, that it does take a little time to break in.
Well, and I've made some changes in assembly as well
But
to cut
yes,
down on that.
So you're honing out your bushings now, right?
Further, yes.
Further. And then we are putting, what is the green crap called? Assembly slime? It's got a
Assembly
weird...
goo.
Assembly goo is the actual brand name.
When I assemble it, I use the assembly goo. When you get the machine, that'll all be gone.
Yeah, that'll all be gone. We've also found that after we test them, after we run them a couple times, we clean them off with brake cleaner and then apply just some lubricant.
We use the Bronze Way lube, but at home, on my K at home, I'm using 1030, and it's working fantastic.
Yeah. So there are little things that we've learned throughout the process that, you know, this just makes it easier for the end user. Instead of 4 or 5 hours for a break-in period, can we cut it down to an hour?
Yeah,
right?
my K, it took about an hour.
Yeah.
And I even had some leaking issues, but once it got broke in, all the leaks are gone, and it's happy.
Right. Well, you built it, so it's your fault.
It is.
Yeah. Well, so I think, my thought on the matter is the most critical part of the assembly process that separates anything. I was going to say it all comes down to alignment. Because
yes, it does.
I can build a power pack pretty quick these days, get it set in, and if it's, a skosh off inside of the base or, whatever, that's not going to affect performance whatsoever. In fact, 95% of our customers are never going to take their front panel off and look inside, so they'll never even see that it's tilted. What they will notice, though, is that if I check with my one set of dies, I align it to those dies, and everything fits up perfectly, and I ship it, I'm shipping it with brand new dies that were never tested inside the machine.
Correct.
So what I found was when I take down and I do my alignment, what we were doing was you drop it, get everything square, then you tighten everything up, and then you can use your bronze to flutter things around, right? I would do that with dies. Okay, run it up 4 or 5 times, make them touch. Okay, we're off a little bit here, adjust a little bit, run it off 4 or 5 times. And then once I got it perfect after running it up 4 or 5 times, then I would take the dies out, I would swap them. So top's on bottom, bottom's on top. Do it again. Do they still line up? If no, get them aligned. Swap them. Make sure that I go through that process until they're aligned. And then I had a second set of dies that are not as precise that I would throw in, and there is a tolerance on those that it's like, okay, these are my sloppy dies. How close can I get my sloppy dies? And I would never align off of my sloppy dies. That's bad. Don't do that. Do not align off sloppy dies. But I knew if I had sloppy dies and I ran them down together, okay, these dies are very past our miss on what we would allow us out of the door. But if I can get them closed and they're inside of that tolerance where I would still be able to forge on them, I'm good. That's where my alignment goes. So in my time when I took over, we had Mark building presses, and then we had Jordan, and then we had Tyler, and then we had Gage, and then we had Corbin. And all of those times I had to go in and build presses in the interim, and then I had to teach them how to build presses, and then they had questions that I had to figure out. And to me, that was the part where I would never get on somebody about spending time. So it's like, hey man, you were supposed to build 3 power packs today and you only got through 1. That's a problem. Okay, I'll have that conversation with them. Oh, you were supposed to do this and it took whatever. If I went to somebody and I was like, hey, you should have been able to get 2 presses out today. What happened? And they were like, oh, I was really struggling with die alignment. Cool. Because that's where I'm adding the most value to the press, is in the die alignment.
Yeah.
Because that way the customer doesn't have to spend time aligning their own dies. I don't get the phone calls. The time on that front end to make sure that that little particular die alignment is done correctly saves us so much in service calls, saves us so much in, at the time I had Harley who would actually plug presses in and do quality control on them after he painted them, which is great, fantastic. He would pull me every once in a while and be like, hey, these don't align. So just taking the time to make sure your alignment is correctly. And I think that that spreads to that mindset of what you're saying is like, that's the most detail-oriented part of building a press.
Yeah.
There's no question.
No.
Like that is the detail. So having that mindset of this is exactly, or I need to get this exact, then you're thinking about that when you're putting your valve on, right? You're putting your valve on and it's like, okay, it's a little wonky. Let me loosen it, get it straight. Okay, good. And it just spreads. So is that, would you say you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
What if neither of those two things were on the table and every single one of our listeners is like, well, duh, you freaking idiots. What's the next most important part?
Probably leaks, tightening all your fittings, because when hydraulic fluid leaks, it makes a mess everywhere. And like for our end users, on the C-frames, you have to remove 7 bolts to even fill it. Mm-hmm. And that's time that we don't want. We want them to spend their time forging and not removing the front cover to put fluid in it every afternoon.
Right. Leaks is good. I agree with that. I don't want to send presses out that leak. I think my backup would probably be in cleanliness and in clutter. Some people operate well enough.
I thought you were talking like the press itself.
No, I'm talking about during assembly.
Oh no, you're correct.
So some people operate well enough. If I were to walk into your build cell while you're building, and I do this regularly, I have no clue what's going on. I don't know where any tool is. I could not pick up in the middle of your press.
No.
But you know exactly where every tool is.
Yep.
You know, it's like, okay, I need, a 7/8, 3/4 drive. Okay, top drawer to the right. I open up the drawer and it's like, there's 95 freaking sockets here. And then you just walk over and you reach right for it and you hand it to me. Some people can operate like that. I can operate like that to an extent if I'm the one making the messy organization. If you're working in a cell where other people are using the cell consistently, dude, tool boards.
Yes.
Pokeoki, knowing where everything is. I know that you would come in after Corbin built something and you're like, I don't know where this is. I would come in after you were building something. I don't know where this is. And it all boiled down to we were using our own, like, oh, I know I put that there. I know I put that there. And we weren't going back in the tool board. So I would say that that's the most critical part of an assembly process solely in the manufacturing realm.
Yes.
Like making sure that all of your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed, and to build a clean press, your cell has to be clean. So just like with anything else, you walk into a Jiffy Lube, there's going to be oil on the floor. The ratchets are all going to be gross, but are they where they're supposed to be? Are you cluttered by trash? Are you working in a cell that's as big as this room, but there's only this much room to move in, right? That, to me, I think is the most important part for if you call in sick tomorrow and my customer calls me and is like, hey, I've got a commission that I'm working on. I need this press right now. Can I jump into your cell and build that for you? And that is specifically team assembly related, not necessarily one person assembling something. Cool. Evan, did we nail the question? Did we do good? Say it into the mic.
You did good.
Thank you. All right. Greg also does this fun thing where he has really embraced the find the work, do the work attitude. And so, we did a short, and we're going to do a series of these guys. Let us know if you like them on Instagram, where we're interviewing our staff and asking them. We were heavily inspired by Baker, and we want you guys to know who's building your machines. You spend a lot of money with us. We have even on the smaller end of things, $3,000 is our cheapest machine, and that's not I'm going to buy this today money. That's let me think about it, maybe save up a little bit. So we want you guys to feel like you're part of the family, part of the community, because you are. And my employees also want to feel connected to the customer because you're feeding their physical families. That's one of the coolest parts about this job is that Nigel and Shiloh constantly have people reaching out to them saying, thank you. This is a good job you did. Or I have a question about my press. Or can you guys do this? So we want to make sure that people feel like they're involved in the community. We want to make sure that people feel like they are a part of it. So we are doing these short interviews where we're talking to the staff. We're getting them in front of the camera. There's a couple people who just prefer not to be in front of the camera, but they're also great. So let us know if you like these. Let us know if you feel connected to us as if we're one spirit, traveling this world together.
One team, one dream.
One team, one dream. But Greg does this thing where he genuinely, it's like, okay, what next? And what did you say your theme song was when we did that interview for our theme song?
Hey, hey, what can I do?
Hey, hey, what can I do by Led Zeppelin. That's right. I burnt myself out on Led Zeppelin in like 10th grade when that's all I listened to was Led Zeppelin and Eric Clapton.
I haven't burnt myself out yet.
Yeah, well, it's literally all I listen to. Also, Kristen and Kenny, if you listen to this podcast, I do not love Jimi Hendrix, and I never did. I've never told you that before. You just thought I did. So for years, they bought me shirts and DVDs and I think a lamp. Every year for every birthday and Christmas, they got me something Jimi Hendrix related. Never that big of a fan.
He's good.
He's all right. But I don't want a button-up purple T-shirt with him in some sort of yellow. He looked like a lava lamp playing in the guitar. Anyway, it's 15 years later. I can say it out loud. I'm sorry. I love you guys. Just don't love Jimi Hendrix as much as you thought I did. Greg does this thing where he's embraced find the work, do the work. Hey, hey, what can I do? Genuinely could be his theme song. He finds opportunities to make coal better and to expose coal to the community. So Greg goes to the farmer's market. He sells his knives and his hooks and his forgings and tries to get people aware that this is something you can do. He's always had IBA information out there. He's always willing to talk to people about that.
Is that it?
Very, very similar. Dang. Instead of him being in full color, he was all yellow. And instead of the background being like I don't know, kind of looks like flashes on lights. Like instead of that, it was like swirly yellow and
like smoke.
Yeah, more like smoke. Yeah, almost exactly the actual like picture though. That is kind of his iconic picture though. That's picture. Like his picture. But Greg went to the farmer's market in Newcastle this week, and he did a little bit of demonstrating for the coal school, signed a couple people up for classes, talked to a few people. So what I want to talk about, and something we've kind of a little bit touched on, is what's going to a farmer's market as a blacksmith like. This isn't talking about going to an art show where people are drinking wine and they want to support the arts. This is going to a farmer's market where people are like, I want fresh food. I want things that are connected to my community. I want raw honey. I want coffee that is roasted in Indianapolis, not in Texas or, in South America. There's nothing wrong with those coffees. Once again, I always get this thing where when I say things, I'm afraid people are going to be like, what do you have against Guatemala? Nothing. They actually make delicious coffee. But there's also a time and place to support your community. And that's where these people going to the farmer's market are doing. So what is going to a farmer's market like as a small maker?
A lot of ups and a lot of downs. You'll have weeks where it's nothing but, have you ever seen Forged in Fire?
Nope.
You know that one show? And then there's other weeks where people ask great questions like, oh, how do you do this? How do you twist? How do you make this twist or stuff like that? And
Do you prefer to forge in your bevel or do you grind it?
yeah, I've never been asked that.
Okay, so we're not dealing with that experience to people.
No. Although, like, while I was set up this weekend, I had a guy come up and go, oh, hey, and, he's taking classes at SOFA. He's taking classes in Cincinnati. And I was like, well, come on out to our meetings. And so hopefully we'll see him soon.
Awesome.
And, yeah, it was, you get all kinds of kinds.
Yeah.
Like, and even at one of the farmers market, there's a well-known-ish blacksmith, Jimmy.
Claire?
Yep. There it is. He came up and talked to me for an hour and a half.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know he still came out to those.
His wife wanted some fresh produce.
Yeah, exactly. So you get that's the other part too is you get maybe it's like a good mid-morning date for some couples, or we want to take the kids out of the house. It's summer break, so let's leave this house. So you get a lot of people who maybe one or two of the people in the group want to be at the farmer's market, and everybody else is like, yeah, we'll make this work until we do what I'm doing. And then they see a blacksmith live and in person. And so you get a lot of interactions from people that are like, I've probably got 45 minutes to kill while my wife's wandering around. And they talk to you and they make good conversation.
Yeah.
So when I went out there with you, was it last summer or 2 summers ago?
Summers.
2 summers ago. I meant to wear your shirt today. I thought that would have been nice to wear your shirt. But when I went out there, it seemed like there was one mom who went and grabbed her son and was like, oh my God, my son would love this. Absolutely. And then there was one guy that stood and talked to us for a while. But it was a lot of people that didn't know this still happened. This still existed.
That's probably the number one thing I get. Well, this is a dying art. It's like, well, it is and it isn't. As a full-time job, and like the blacksmith used to be the center of a community.
Yeah.
It's not that anymore, but it's still happening, especially in Indiana. With the IBA is just fantastic.
Yeah.
It is one of the better guilds. And it's like, well, I was just last weekend, I was at a blacksmithing event with 250 other people from Indiana and having a good old time.
Yeah. So now we're going to get into Evan's questions. Just want to make that distinction. I don't know what's on this paper. What moment did you realize your knife forging hobby could actually become a business, and how did you take the first step?
So before I was doing side jobs of working on people's cars at home.
Yeah.
And
we kind of covered this in your introductory interview.
Probably. And it was like, well, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to take the 9 to 5 home with me.
Yeah, it sucks.
And watching Andy and David do this for so long, it's like, screw it, I'm doing it too. Mm-hmm. But I need my hobby to make a little bit of money if I'm not going to be fixing cars. So I was like, well, and I was about 6 months late to the Instagram gravy train for knife makers.
Yeah.
So for a while, I concentrated on Instagram and the farmer's market. And because that was something I knew that I could do locally. Mm-hmm. And I've just kept it up since. This year, I have not gone as much, but I need to get out there more.
Yeah, so let me see if it's on here. One of the things that you do that I really liked, and I've talked about it a bunch, so we won't go into super detail, but one of the things that you do is you'll take knives in progress and you'll say, okay, this one's rough forged, this one's been ground, this one has handles, but they're not attached, whatever. And you kind of do a pick your own price. Was that because you just wanted to get everything you were working on in front of people and sell it just in case it sold, or did you see that as a necessity because otherwise people aren't going to go out? You don't go to a farmer's market for a $250 knife unless you've been to that farmer's market 4 or 5 times and you've seen it and you've thought about it. That's kind of a big price point to just, yep, I'll do it.
So originally, It was because I didn't have enough knives finished. Okay. And it was like, I will just take this other stuff. And if originally my thought was, if they want this knife, then they could choose their wood, or I could finish it for them.
Yeah.
But then several guys were like, well, how much just for that? I'm like, $40.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Okay.
All right, cool. Yeah. Then they can say they have a hand forged knife that they made.
Yeah.
And they can kind of like skirt the sentence to where they're not lying.
Yeah, and that's fine. I don't care.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned from selling at farmers markets?
If I could, it would be go every week. Even if I wasn't there. They're like the Copper State Forge guys out in Arizona. They'll send they do like 5 or 6 farmers markets a weekend. So they have other people there representing them. But every week I think would be key. Yeah. Because just this weekend alone, well, are you here every week? It's like, well, no, I have other stuff going on.
Yeah.
Oh, well, if you're back in a couple weeks, maybe I'll buy something from you.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to see your commitment to, which they'll only go 1 or 2 weekends.
Yeah.
But they want you to be there.
They want
every
you
weekend.
to be there. Right.
And I get it, but it just doesn't. I can't make that happen right now. So
yeah, well, and I think a lot of people, and we experience this in business too, where we'll get a phone call that's like, well, I'm building out my shop, and I think I'm going to buy a 25 ton, and you get about 5-10 of those phone calls, and maybe 2 people buy presses, but that conversion rate of 20%. That conversion rate of 20% is still a whole lot better than our 1.2 on the website, So it is disheartening when you talk to 10 people and only 2 people buy stuff. But when you really break down as many people are seeing your stuff, you're still getting a better return on your interactions in person every time. And that's something that I would say I've learned going to various farmers markets and art gatherings and stuff is like, you can put it on Instagram and 4,000 people will see it and you won't sell anything. You can go to a farmer's market with 200 people that come and you'll sell 2 or 3 things. And that's a lot better conversion rate.
Well, another thing I've noticed is, for me, at an art show's probably different, or if I had other people to go with me, when I demo, I don't sell as much.
Yeah, because you don't have time to talk.
Well, I do have time to talk between heats and stuff. They don't want to talk about the stuff I'm selling. They want to talk about the stuff I'm making.
That's fair too.
They're everybody's like, ooh, what are you making? And I could even grab one that's done, and they're like, well, I don't care about that. I just want to watch you do it.
Right. I want to buy the one I'm watching.
I've never really gotten a whole lot of that either. But
okay.
They just want to see the process, because most people haven't seen a blacksmith in real life.
Yeah. Well, and we're getting to a point where it's becoming less. It is more like you feel like it's a demonstration. People don't understand that this is a real thing that we're doing, that we're making items that you can use. They think it's kind of like cute and nichey, and they can watch somebody demo like it's the old times. And you do have to kind of learn how to make that distinction and say like, no, like I'm doing this so that you can read into the fact that this is all handmade. I'm not doing this so that you guys. Yeah, I want you to have a good time. I'm not saying, oh, I'm not doing this so you can have fun. I'm saying like, I'm doing this to show you guys that everything that's on this table happened the same way, and that doesn't really translate, is what you're saying. Is people just want to see the show?
Yeah.
Okay. What would you wish that? What do you wish you would have known when you started at farmers market? What is the one bit of advice you wish somebody told you?
You're not going to sell everything you have.
That's fair.
Because the first time I went, I was like, man, if I sell all of this, it'll be great.
Yeah.
And I sold like one thing, and it's like, oh. But you just got to keep going.
Yeah. Well, and as you're there more, it becomes this guy goes to the farmer's market every week, and he knows that you're going to be there, so he invites his friend to come with him, and you kind of build that up.
like I've got some customers that have 2 or 3 knives, and then their friends have 2 or 3 knives.
Yeah.
From that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So, real quick question. Has your background influenced the way you design or build your knives? Your background as a mechanic, as a veteran, as a father, anything and everything that you can think of, how has that influenced your knife making?
So my knife making has most been influenced by not being able to afford fancy knives.
Sure. Yeah.
My goal is to try and make the fancy knife that you could afford.
Yeah. So I just bought 2 knives from you.
You did.
For my sister-in-law. Are they over there?
They're over there on Evan's desk.
So I'm not going to say the exact price because Daddy might have gotten the
Healthy discount.
the healthy discount because we've been friends for 15 years. But even if I would have paid triple for these knives, it would have rivaled what a normal blacksmith or a normal knife maker would have charged.
Yes.
And that would have been a fair price.
Well, you
for that
basically got to buy one, get one free.
Yeah. So if I got a buy one, get one free, your price point is very, very, very approachable. This one's also a cutie. Look at that.
Damascus.
Look at that. Pattern welded. Was not made in the Damascus region. It's just sparkling weld. But, you know, one thing that I do like to remind people of is the world needs the Steve Schwarzers. And the world needs Neil Camamaras, who are selling knives that are it's a big investment for one of their knives. And some of the people buying their knives, it's not a big investment. It's just they have that kind of money. The world needs that. But the world also needs you and Paul Elkins. Gentle Giant Ford, shout out. The world needs those. Because there has to be a tier system. There can't just be top and bottom. It's like in my kitchen, I have a lot of Chicago cutlery because I was broke and they sell it at Kroger for like $7 a knife.
Me too.
But it works.
Yeah.
For a little while.
I have one fancy knife.
Once you lose your edge on a Chicago cutlery, it is not coming back. There's nothing you can do to resharpen it. I have learned that. But you know, the one thing that I would say that before going to farmer's market or anything like that is I would want to remind people to work within your price point and understand the value that you're offering and where your clientele is. Because if you're trying to sell knives in Alexandria compared to Carmel, you're going to sell a lot less $1,000 knives in Alexandria.
In Newcastle, you will sell 0 of those.
Right. That's what I meant by a lot less. But you know, you can, and you can also make the gamut. You can make $1,200 knives. You can make $1,500 knives and make some $200 knives.
Well,
$300 knives.
What I want to do is make the $200 knives that then people use and go, well, this works so good. Mm-hmm. Can I have a $1,200 one?
Or 5 more.
Or
$200 knives, yeah.
Ones.
You know, once again, shout out Paul. He's making a chef set for specifically aimed at culinary students, where they can buy their first set of knives, and they're not top of the line. You know, like when you're a mechanic and you get your box and you're all of a sudden $30,000 in debt. It's not one of those sets, but it's like a good. We went to Harbor Freight and we bought you a box and we filled it up and we might have spent $600. That's a lot of money, but look at all these tools you got. That's kind of where his starter set, and not Harbor Freight quality. These are still American made, hand forged. I'm not putting that on Paul, but he's a set that is a good, reasonable price for people to get into. And then, like you said, well, now they've graduated. They've been on the line for 2 or 3 years. They just got promoted to sous chef. I've really liked these knives that I got while I was in college. Why don't I go back to that same guy and get my next set? You know, so I think there's a very good way to be able to do that. And the example that I would say is look at how many of my 12-ton customers have become 25-ton customers.
Yeah.
or induction forge customers, or power hammer customers, or K75 customers.
Well, that's like earlier today while we were doing some service stuff, it was like, oh, he's only ordered one thing.
Yeah.
Most of the time when we go through, people have ordered 3, 4, 8 items.
Yeah.
Or orders, not even items. A lot of people have multiple presses.
Yeah, especially some of the guys that have done, I started in my garage and then I opened up a shop over here and then I hired an employee, but we can't both run the press at the same time. So he's got to get a press. And, we're very, very blessed in the fact that people have seen what we're doing and wanted to be a part of it and kind of joined on that journey with us. And I think that that's something you can aspire to do in knife making as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, anywho. Run the gamut. Make $200 knives. Make $2,000 knives. Meet your customer where they're at. So, well, have we satisfied?
Can we talk about K75s?
Yeah, let's talk about K75s. Let's
love
do that.
them.
Greg loves the K75.
I love the K75. And so everything I've done to this point, like even those knives there, were completely hand done. I did not have any powered forging equipment until recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really enjoying the tooling up. That's probably my favorite part about it, is making the
buying tools is so much more fun than using them.
And I just bought some tools that I knew I couldn't make as easily as I could purchase them. I'm enjoying the, shout out Rob Huff, tools to make a tool to make a tool. And that's been the funnest part. And the versatility of the KA is what I've really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Because I've found if you look at it on face value, it is not good at drawing stuff out.
Sure, yeah.
But if you make the right fullering tools, it does a fantastic job.
Well, and it's a lot like the induction forge. It's, don't make Damascus in an induction forge.
Well, I haven't done it yet, but I am going to make Damascus on the K75.
Right. But
I have made Damascus on
the
induction
but
forge.
It was like inch by inch.
No, I did a whole it was not an initial weld.
Okay.
It was a restack.
But you got to use the tool for what it's intended for, and much like the induction forge is an isolated heat.
Yeah.
The K75, if you're drawing something out and it's an isolated drawing, dude, it's perfect. Because you have the ability to go in and have very calculated blows on it, and you can control it with the foot pedal, how much you're going up, how much you're going down. Once you learn that your relationship with the K75 has to be intimate. Yes. You have to know and I'm going to go to your house someday and run your K75, and it's going to be so much different than the one in the school, just on characteristic and.
When I was talking to Nathan last night, and mine's heavier.
Yeah. And so you have to have kind of an intimate relationship with it to be really good at it, but you can also just approach it and get what you need done the first time you run it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not great if you're, drawing out 8 feet of something. That would suck on it. But if you're going in and you need to draw out sections, I would almost prefer it over a power hammer in some instances. But you have to have the right tools.
Yeah. That's the big thing with the KA.
Yeah.
But that's the big thing with any power hammer.
Right. Yeah. Very rarely are you just going die to die.
Yeah.
On it. Well, I guess not very rarely, but very often you're using top tooling on a power hammer.
Well, and I think on a K75 you're going to be using tooling more than just die to die on a power hammer. But
right.
It's for like the way my shop is set up. I have a compressor that can run it. Mm-hmm. I don't really have the power requirement. I could run a 12-ton at my shop easily, but anything 220 or more, I wouldn't be able to. And that's why I've really enjoyed the KA, because it fits my shop perfectly. Yeah,
it's a great little compact machine too. That's we kind of touch on that. We talk about it a little bit, but it honestly probably could do more credit by talking about how compact it is. And I think Papal John's video was a great example of like
fantastic
squeezing it in, just like, oh, that'll fit right there.
Yeah, You couldn't fit his in much of a smaller spot.
No, his is, about. We would have to do a massive redesign to be able to get it into a smaller spot. So, cool. Shout out K75s. We're going to finalize this podcast with Evan. Give me some death battle music with a super fight. So I am an avid baseball fan. Love baseball. Greg casually pays attention to baseball. So today we are going to fight about who wins in a battle. This is a fist fight. Okay. Mortal Kombat style.
Okay.
This is more like Street Fighter, but you get the deal. In my corner, Shohei Ohtani. In your corner, Aaron Judge.
Is Shohei pitching or batting?
Fist fighting.
Oh, Aaron Judge.
Okay. Ready? Shohei Ohtani can duplicate himself once per minute, but each clone is slightly less coordinated. He wields a bat that turns anything it hits into fireworks.
Okay.
Minus Aaron Judge. That would just...
Yeah.
If I hit you once, the fight's over. Rides a sentient scooter that insults his enemies to lower their morale. Which is funny because he's Japanese. And they are notoriously polite.
Yes. Excuse me.
I don't know if I can say that. Feels like I shouldn't be allowed to say that on the podcast. Aaron Judge is 15 feet tall, but afraid of loud noises. Throws explosive baseballs that ricochet unpredictably, so do not follow the laws of physics. And can summon a wall of Yankees fans to block attacks once per round. The battlefield is a half-destroyed stadium under alien siege with random gravity shifts and roaming hot dog carts that explode when touched.
I'm going to have to give that one to Shohei.
But you're supposed to argue for Aaron Judge. He's your...
No. He's 15 feet tall, and Shohei's like, what, 5'10"?
No, he's big. I think he's like 6'2".
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's pretty big.
15 foot versus 6'2". Aaron Judge wins all day.
So I think that I'm going to win. Man, I'm kind of in the same... I think Aaron Judge wins on this one. Just because I think Aaron... Right, you're 15 feet tall, I'm 6 foot tall. Oh, okay, but I can clone myself. Cool. I'm becoming less coordinated, and then gravity shifts, all of my clones just die all the time. They're just falling off the map. So I got to think...
Well, the one thing you've got going for you is you could just hit stuff and make fireworks go off, and Aaron Judge is afraid of loud noises.
Right, that's the angle I'm going to go. I think Shohei Ohtani wins because what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you to the end of the map by... can I touch them a little? Can I touch them a little, the hot dog carts? Or is it like any touch whatsoever?
Any touch is an explosion.
God bless it. Okay. I'm going to try to lure you with not loud noises next to the hot dog carts. And I'm going to try to get the hot dog carts off to the end of one map. And then once you get to the hot dog carts and they all start exploding, I'm going to start hitting anything and everything around me, including the aliens with my bat turning into fireworks so that you just fall off the map. This is going to be not one on power, but on skill. I'm going to walk you off the map.
Aaron Judge will just step on you and say, "Ooh, I squashed a bug."
Not if I'm screaming the whole time because I'm scared of you because I have a 6 foot tall baseball player or 15 foot tall baseball throwing Yankees fans up in front of me. I'm screaming. You're afraid.
The Yankees fans will drown out the noise.
Yeah. With more noise, you're still afraid. You're afraid of the Yankees fans' noise.
Yankees fans aren't that loud anyway. Just online.
Just kind of smug.
Yeah. We're the Yankees.
And disrespectful. Evan, we're both Cubs fans, all right?
Yeah, that's okay.
Cubs fans. All right, guys, let us know what you think. Shohei Ohtani versus Aaron Judge. How many of our listeners actually pay attention to baseball? I don't know. I don't have those stats. I do want to take just 1 second to give a special shout out to a customer of ours. Seth Lowe has been listening to the podcast. He has been involved. He's been commenting on our videos. He bought a 12-ton, came out, took a class with Charlie, then talked his father-in-law into getting a press as well.
Who picked it up yesterday.
And Seth Lowe made a post yesterday and told me yesterday that it was his first day as a knife maker full-time. He quit his job of 20 years. He's got a couple hobbies that he does, and when we were talking the first time, he made it sound like knife making was becoming more than just a hobby to him, and he wanted to go full-time, and then he started making comments. He is the comment that inspired the conversation Nathan and I had about what do I want to do when knife making makes me want to quit my full-time job and go full-time into knife making. Nathan and I had a really good conversation about that. One of my favorites that we've done, and Seth did it. So shout out to Seth. Everybody go give him a follow on Instagram. It is Ravens Rebellion Forge. Evan, if you could pull that up and show off some of what he's done. I want to wish nothing but the best for Seth. I know he listens to the podcast, and I want to make sure that he gets the recognition of being part of the reason we do what we're doing. We want to empower people. We want the community to rally around each other, and this is the perfect opportunity to give him a shout out. He made a knife for a D&D podcaster, which is funny because we just did a D&D podcast, and she posted it yesterday, and she posted his knife, and he got a bunch of followers from it. So proud 12-ton owner. He does some beautiful work. That is a blurry picture of us with Seth. That's what I look like in real life, guys. I'm kind of like the Squatch. On that one. But everybody go give him a follow. He's a wonderful, wonderful person. Easy to talk to. And we, like I said, we hope nothing but the best for him. And he shared publicly, so I'm sure that he's okay with us sharing. He has 4 months of runway. He can do this for 4 months before he has to make a decision without making any money. And so he's taken some of our advice and put it into action. I want to see that followers list jump to 200 next time we check on him. I want to see that at 200. So, all right, guys, thanks for joining. Thanks for listening to us. Sorry that I feel like we went long. Maybe we didn't. Maybe time flies just when you're having fun. But
go Pacers.
Go Pacers. Go Cubs. World Series MVP. Love y'all. Bye. Dude, that Pete Armstrong this year, though.